Good news can often get overlooked or buried by the negative in our everyday lives. So let's change that. I'm Adrianna.
And I'm Wyatt.
We're just two ordinary people without any special qualifications or anything, trying to navigate life. We invite you to join us as we share wholesome stories, news articles of hope, and ideas about how we can all make the world just a little bit brighter. We are uplifting positive stories. Welcome back to another episode of Uplifting Positive Stories. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Ready to get inspired?
Getting inspired. Today's episode is all about being inspired by others and jumping on the train when you see kindness happening and not being shy or afraid to join in the action. We had an episode not too long ago about taking initiative, being that first person to step up, but just as it is important to be the first person to start an action, it's also important to join in when you see that there are kind things happening, because it's a lot easier to continue doing an action that is kind, that is out of the blue, when there are other people involved too. So, and sometimes little bits of kindness from a lot of people can surmount into way bigger actions and way more profound things that can really help somebody than if it's just one person. So all about seeing something and then joining in and taking that opportunity and joining with everybody else that are doing something kind. So we're going to start off today with a story that was sent to us by a listener. So thank you so much for sending this to us. They had posted it on Reddit and it started a chain. So that was really, really cool. So I'm excited to share it. This story is from the subreddit Wholesome, and it is titled, "Kindness for a Homeless Man Becomes Contagious." Smiley face. This story says, "I truly doubted about posting this because it could be seen as bragging, but I have seen the butterfly effect it has had, and I know I was inspired by other stories of acts of kindness, so feeling very shy, here I go. Last Tuesday, I was walking around my block and I saw a sign taped to a wall. 'Don't leave stuff here. Next time we will call the police.' It was in a place that's a bit protected from the elements, and sometimes homeless people sleep there. I was so angry. What was wrong with people? It was in a part of the building that doesn't have car access, barely anyone passes, no doors close. I could not think of a reason anyone could care if someone slept there. The homeless people we've had in our neighborhood never have caused any trouble. Some have stayed for months and are quiet, respectful, and just want to be able to exist in peace, darn it. I mulled over it all day. I told some neighbors and they got ticked too. I said I was going to put another sign answering back. My neighbors, Jason, girlfriend, Mary, said we should bring them something to eat. I thought it was a great idea. I couldn't at that moment, but we would do it in the evening. I am part of an urban vegetable garden, so I went to see if there were any fruits or vegetables I could pick up from the common areas. I found my friend Grace there, told her the story, and she sympathized a lot and helped me gather fruits, small branches of grapes that were still left on the vine from the past harvest. I thanked her so much I wouldn't have found so much without her help. Jason and Mary couldn't go that day in the end, so I went alone to where the sign was. I found 3 people close, and I politely asked if they knew what the sign was all about. One of them said it was because of him. He had left some clothes there. He kept them in some bushes now. I must have gotten an angry face because he said it was okay, he didn't mind keeping them in the bushes. I told him some neighbors were very mad at the situation and showed him 2 signs. One for the wall. Is it really that difficult to have compassion for someone who doesn't have a refuge? If they're not creating trouble, littering, or leaving around objects that could hurt pets or children, what is the problem? If it hurts your sight so much, give them a curtain. To whoever put up the sign, I hope karma never leaves you in a situation where you have to carry a sleeping bag all day with you for fear of it being stolen. To whoever felt menaced by this sign, not all of us neighbors hate you. You are people and deserve to be treated as such." A second one, in the bag with food I brought. A loving reminder that not all the neighbors despise you. I'm not the only one that despised that sign, at least as far as I'm concerned, and no matter how long or short of a period you stay here, as long as we're all civil, respectful, and safe, we are neighbors. These are some fresh fruits picked this afternoon. I hope you enjoy them. So they left a note, and they left one in the bag as well.
Okay.
Very, very cool. The man and his friends, kids that lived in the block and apparently had known this person for years with no problem, were so touched. He took the note and put it with so much care inside his backpack. We hugged, then I remembered to ask for his name, and I realized I had seen him before. His name is Emilio. I gave him a bottle of cold water and some canned food last August. He is very nice and polite. He told me some neighbors had been throwing trash at him from the upper windows, even water, trying to make him leave. My blood boiled. He was actually very understanding. Apparently, a year ago, someone else had put a bunch of clothes where he was sleeping, put gasoline on them, and set them on fire. He understood people could have gotten scared. He was taking it all with so much grace and understanding. I don't think I would have been capable. Apparently, the person who put the original sign came to talk to him, apologized, and gave him a coffee, but didn't take the sign off. And also, people were throwing stuff at him. I hung my sign right next to the other one. The wonderful thing is that the next day, Grace, my vegetable garden friend, called me, told me that she had been so sad about the sign that she had cooked several meals for this man, but she was in a rush. Could I go pick them up and give them to him? Of course! There was actually so much that I gave him half of it and kept the other half in my fridge to give him some days later. But my neighbors, Jason and Mary, still are going to bring him something to eat. They bought some melons, and yesterday I told the story to my dad, and when I mentioned Emilio putting so lovingly the note I gave him in his half-broken backpack, he stood up saying he was sure he had some backpack somewhere he wasn't using and it could help. And one sign brought another. My idea of the sign brought Mary's idea of food, which I borrowed. Then Grace upped that 2 orders of magnitude. Then my dad got invested too. And all of us could have looked at the sign and said nothing or heard the story and do nothing. But this week, Emilio woke up to a menacing sign, and by the end of it, he has received fruit, toilet paper, a water bottle, some plastic, easy to transport cutlery, food for a whole week from Grace, and when I go to see him again, he'll receive 2 new backpacks and a suitcase. My dad insists that I give him all options to choose or for him to keep them all. And it kind of made my heart sing. Years ago, I wouldn't have had any idea what to do. I've seen so many videos of people just extending kindness that the idea of letting know, whoever it was, I didn't know I knew the man already, that they were respected came to my mind. I know seeing that kind of content inspired me and started a chain of events. So I really don't want this to be about me. It's about Emilio. It could be about Grace, because dang, I only wanted to have a small detail with whoever it was, but she must have cooked for hours, spent time, ingredients, containers, and even asked me where he was in case another day she could bring more. But mostly I want to share in case this inspires someone like other content inspired me in the past.
Wow.
Yeah, right? Isn't that awesome?
What a crazy story.
Yeah, it's awesome. It took something that was so negative with the situation. I mean, I was shocked when I heard especially about the clothes being set on fire. That's insane.
Sadly enough, that's the only part that actually shocks me. The rest actually,
it happens a lot, unfortunately.
Fortunately, it tracks,
it's so
even
sad.
locally in Minnesota.
It's true.
Yeah, it's really, homelessness is such a hot button topic.
Yeah.
And
it's really sad.
Yeah, I think generally overall, I know it's a complex issue. There's limited resources, and there's a lot of challenges surrounding it and how to approach it and such. But generally, I do think that the whole situation needs a lot more empathy than is generally given. There are reasons and times to be more cautious and to give space and But generally,
this was clearly a situation where that wasn't needed.
And generally, I do think, regardless, I think more empathy is important, especially in this situation. It seems like, okay, you don't need to.
Yeah,
it's not harming you.
Why would you put up a menacing sign when it's clearly out of the beaten path? It's not in people's way. Most people wouldn't even see him there. He's just trying to sleep. He's trying not to disturb people. Like, why is there an issue? Why do you need to put up a mean sign like that? And why do you need to throw things at him? That's just, and I love that OP of this was saying that just showing him that letting him know that he was respected was basically their intention, and by putting up a different sign and saying, like, we're neighbors. Just because we're in different situations doesn't mean that we're going to treat you as less than human. Like, you're our neighbor, and we're going to treat you as such.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was so cool. What a great perspective to have.
What I'm a little confused by, so not the OP, but the person who put up the original sign went and apologized to Emilio?
Yeah, and gave him a coffee, but they didn't take the sign down. Yeah, so.
Well, I guess good that you realized that it might have been hurtful, and so you apologize, but, apology doesn't mean a whole lot if you don't take any action that go differently.
Fix it. But OP did, and counteracted it with that other sign, which is awesome. So you can't control what other people do, but you can control what you can do, and so by doing that and taking that initiative, and then because of that, Grace and Jason, it sounds like other people jumped on board and decided to also step in and help. And what could have been a small gesture turned into a much bigger gesture because other people had different resources and different things that they could contribute. And it started a chain of events that ended up being far more impactful. I mean, getting him a new backpack too. OP's dad gave him a backpack, and it sounds like maybe a suitcase. That's huge.
Oh yeah.
'Cause that's a lot of money sometimes to get a really nice backpack or a suitcase, and that can be huge for them to be able to get around places and stuff. It's huge. So, and to protect their stuff too. And so, yeah, it's just an example of when we band together and we also join in. Like, obviously, the taking that first step of initiative is super important. And we had that episode talking about that. But also being willing to join in and take that other step to be a part of something bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And contribute how you are able to something as a bigger picture. You can make way bigger impacts that way.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah. I
In a
just think it's
way,
a good example of that.
escalate the positivity.
Yeah, right. And you see a lot of that too with like we've had stories like there was a GoFundMe one where there was a guy who accidentally donated more. He entered his credit card number in the line
Mhm,
for the
yep.
donation and ended up being like I think it was like $10,000 or something. And he was like, whoa, I can't contribute that much. But then he posted the story on Reddit and tons of strangers all of a sudden were like, well, we can contribute money. And the cause ended up way surpassing what they projected or what they wanted for this charity. And it was super, super cool.
And then kept going after that when it got read on Smosh Reddit stories, and
Yeah,
then
and
just
it just
continued
took
to
off.
go.
And so everyone contributed just a little bit, but because so many people joined in, it ended up being a huge amount of money
Mm-hmm.
and helped them in so many ways. And so, yeah, just little tiny actions from a ton of people can really add up. So, yeah, I thought it was really cool. Kind of similar to our Pay It Forward episode, but more so just joining in when something is actually happening in the moment. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next one is a little very short story. This one comes from the subreddit Wholesome Stories, and it is titled Story from the Gym. The story says, so I was at the gym and I saw a crowd of boys around one particular boy that was doing push-ups. He was new and it showed. I saw him asking for advice and the guys helped and showed him around. He was Chinese and tried to explain in English and he wasn't that good with the language, but the guys were patient with him. So while the boy was doing push-ups, everyone cheered him up and were screaming, "You can do it! One more! You're doing great!" And it just warmed my heart so much I had to share.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't always have to be big. Just joining in with that too, that positivity.
And then not joining in when it's negative. That's a whole different. That's a different
Exactly.
episode,
Yeah.
counteracting negativity. But I feel like those are stories where it's people like making fun of someone or like everyone's like booing or something. Like it's easy to like steer into that and join that. But again, vice versa of that though is like if you're seeing people like cheer someone on or express positivity like that, why not join
Do
in?
it.
If
Yeah.
you feel that way as well, like do it.
Yeah, it was super, super cool. All right, another one here. Quick story. This one is from Random Acts of Kindness, and it's titled A Chain Reaction of Kindness at a Local Lowe's Store. Names have been changed. I was given some grapevine shoots from a friend, Mary. Since our soil is mostly clay and my husband and I planned on eating the grapes, I went to Lowe's to pick up some organic garden soil. I got 2 bags loaded into my cart and I headed to the register. There were several people in line and others lingered around still shopping. I got in line and then I realized I'd accidentally cut in front of an older couple in the line who had a bunch of flowers in their cart.
Rude.
No, it's actually
I know.
I backed out, apologizing. The couple, Bob and his wife Nancy, said they weren't in a hurry and to go ahead. We started talking about the flowers, and she said that she was putting them in pots on her patio. Suddenly, she stopped and said, "I forgot potting soil." Bob tells her, "We have no place in the cart to put it. Plus, I can't carry that heavy bag over here." They were bantering back and forth about it, and I could tell the man wasn't going to be able to carry a heavy bag like that to the register. I said to Nancy, "I have room in my cart. Why don't you and I get your potting soil and use my cart to bring it back so no one has to carry it?" So that's what we did. Once we got back to the register, the couple checked out. Bob had rearranged the flowers to make room for the potting soil. When the cashier, Barbara, checked me out, she asked if I needed anything else. I said no, and she said she had given me a 25% discount on my entire order because I had been kind to that couple. So here's the chain reaction. Mary gave me grapevine shoots. Bob and Nancy were going to let me in front of them in line. I helped Nancy get her potting soil. Barbara gave me 25% off my garden soil. Kindness can be infectious. Let's spread it around. So yeah, kind of cool. A couple quick more stories. This one here is from What's the Most Wholesome Experience You've Had. This one really hit me, especially with Thanksgiving coming up. It does mention Thanksgiving, and I just was like, wow.
All right, I better emotionally brace myself if it hit you. I gotta
It's like, oh. Okay.
prepare myself.
This one says, when my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer, my family was devastated. How could we pay for this? At the time, my brother was a toddler and still in daycare. This was back in the early 2000s, but daycare wasn't cheap. At all. My mom didn't see herself as any kind of figure in the community. She was the manager of the local Burger King and lived every day with the motto of be kind. She's the kind of person that will still help you out after you have spit on her because she wants to see you succeed and not fail. And I have tried so hard to live like her. She's the most beautiful person in my life. She was very loved in that community. She had given kids their first jobs, helped them while they struggled in school, been part of local charities, food donations, clothing drives, community days, just all kinds of good stuff. First, the owners of the company set up donation tins in every single store across the state, dedicated to my mom's treatment. Then, the community ran a secret fundraiser that she wasn't a part of. She heard about it through rumors and thought she was being excluded because of her illness, but in reality, it was for her. They collected enough money to put my brother through daycare until his school started. They donated an incredible amount of school supplies for my sister, who was in high school at the time. I was graduated and gone by then, doing college stuff, but they even sent me stuff because they knew my parents couldn't help me. At Thanksgiving, they showed up on the doorstep and left an entire Thanksgiving meal. At Christmas, they showed up and left an entire Christmas meal and gifts for my brother and sister, as well as food coupons to give my parents free food, free dinners at local restaurants, free cleaning, free hair care for my mom during and for the year following. It was one of the most beautiful things. I will never in my life forget it, and I do everything I can to give back because these people saved my family. They showed my family a kindness you literally only see in movies. I believe with all my heart that they played a huge role in saving my mom's life. Edit. Whoa, thanks for the awards. This was a crazy traumatic time for my family, and the help that our community gave was just amazing. I hope I can repay the universe in every way I have the power to do so, especially with how lucky we were.
Wow.
Pretty awesome.
People can be really great sometimes.
When they band together, yeah, like it's just crazy the amount that they can do. So yeah, super cool. And then one more story here from Reddit here. This one is from Random Acts of Kindness, and it says, past experience, strangers prevented a tragedy from unfolding. Story says,
what kind of tragedy? What level of tragedy?
Just found this sub and I wanted to share a few experiences. Context. I was 12, my sister was 22, and had custody and a newborn who was maybe a week old. We ran out of gas while pulling into a gas station. Problem is, the car stopped on an incline and began rolling backwards towards a really busy street. I got out and pushed as hard as I could, but it wasn't enough, and it began rolling backwards again. The brakes were doing nothing due to the incline, and her e-brake wasn't working either. One by one, people ran from their gas pumps to help me push the car. Of course, it happened really fast, and if they hadn't come, I probably would have let the car run me over. I didn't know how to steer a car, and my sister has a patch on her heart, so she couldn't have done it anyways, especially right after giving birth. People are constantly speeding down that road, so apart from me being effectively flattened, I don't think my niece would have survived a hit being so fresh to the world. She will be 10 years old on the 17th. That was also the day we found out that her gas gauge was inaccurate. It said we still had a few miles still empty. 3 people prevented a tragedy. I wonder if they remember because we have definitely never forgotten them.
Wow, that's just a scary situation.
Right? But that's a great example, though, of like one person trying to push wasn't enough. And so because 3 people jumped into action when they saw the opportunity, we're like, we need help. They jumped on it. They didn't hesitate. If they had hesitated, this person might not have made it. They might have been crushed by the car or, like she said, hit by the intersection down below with a newborn in the vehicle, which probably would have resulted in tragedy. So the fact that those people didn't hesitate, and when they saw an opportunity to help, they just jumped in and joined. Then they had enough manpower to actually push the car back up off the incline so it didn't go into the area down below. Crazy. So yeah, just I thought that was a really illustrative example of stepping up the moment you see an opportunity and not having hesitation to join in. You know, so
which kind of ties into the recent episode of, I think it was Taking Initiative, where it was like the story of the person who got in a car accident and people coming pulling over and helping and stuff.
Yeah, like the clown car amount of people that stopped, and she was like, I don't know these people. That was just a bunch of strangers that just all of a sudden stopped to do this. Yeah, this all kind of ties together, but I had found these stories and I thought that they all kind of illustrated that other side of not just taking initiative to be the first, but taking the initiative to like join in and when you see someone else helping, let that inspire you to join in. And also seeking out inspiration too. And that can come from lots of sources, but looking into trying to find stories that inspire you, that make you feel that the world is positive, can really, really help to give you that inspiration and ideas about when you do see something you can help with, how to help. Like that first story that our listener sent in, saying that because they saw reels talking about, showing, just expressing respect to people when you see them in situations like that, and that inspired them to do that. Sometimes by seeking out things that inspire us for good, we can have ideas then for when we do find ourselves in a position to join in, to help out. We have a way of doing so. We're not just like, I don't know what to do. It gives us ideas of how we can contribute to the overall help that's happening. So, yeah. Last story here is from WRAL.com. It is our news story, and it is titled, "A Heartfelt Project, Waltonwood Lake Boone Seniors Hand Make Over 60 Kindness Dolls for WakeMed Children's Hospital." So, a group of seniors, driven by compassion and a desire to make a difference, have been sewing over 60 kindness dolls for children at this hospital. These dolls are supposed to be able to kind of help kids to be able to obviously be comforted when they're going through procedures and stuff like that, but also to be able to be used to explain procedures and treatments to kids in a way, because dolls can be cut, sutured, pricked, bandaged, or plastered in different ways, to be able to demonstrate to a child in a more approachable way what treatment they're going to go through, and helps them to feel a little less scared about the treatment that they're going to be getting and stuff like that. So they found that can actually really help, and so that was the idea behind it. This group has also done other projects together, such as creating dog blankets for shelters and scattering kindness rocks with uplifting messages around the community. But this doll project has been something that they put a lot of passion into. To quote the article, it says here, "We may be a small community," Ryerson said, "but together we can do great things. These dolls are proof of that." And they were talking about how it really takes a community to make these dolls, because there's so many steps involved, from the stitching to the stuffing to everything. And so they all kind of have different roles in building these dolls and getting as many made as they can to help out. So it's been a community effort. KIND, by the way, it is an acronym for Kids in Need of Delight. So that's the whole mission effort. So
Gotcha.
Yeah, just super, super sweet.
I think it's funny because I think we're now getting to the point in our podcast where I feel like so many of these stories could belong in other episodes as well.
Yeah,
because
for sure.
at the end of the day, like all of these things, they don't exist in a bubble of like each individual topic. Like there's a through line, and there's like you counteract negativity here, like the first story I feel like probably fits really well with counteracting negativity,
Right.
or taking initiative, or and it's to see, you can go back and kind of see that
is weaved of all positivity and how it all interconnects and stuff. Yeah. It's really, really cool. So yeah, with that, we will end today's podcast episode. Next week is our Thanksgiving episode. The theme is all about being thankful, and we got some great stories about realizing like how to be thankful in our own lives for the things that we have and stuff, and having different perspectives on things and trying to have a positive perspective, as well as some fun Thanksgiving stories as well, and including a couple funny ones that I found that I'm excited to share. So feel free to join us next Wednesday. We'd love to have you listen in on that. And then also, if you're listening on YouTube, if you have any great stories of either times where you've felt inspired to join in on a kind act, or you've seen inspiration happen with a bunch of people, feel free to share that. Or if you have Thanksgiving stories or plans that you're excited about for Thanksgiving, you can also comment those down below. We'd love to read those as well. So yeah. If you have positive stories, as always, you can send them to us via our Gmail, which is upliftingpositivestories@gmail.com, or you can post them on our Reddit at Uplift Positive Stories. So lots of options there as well. Thank you so much again to our listener for sending in that story. We really, really appreciate it, and it's just so cool to be able to see the positive stories that people are doing out there in the world and seeing it spread. So that's really, really cool. Seeing those chains of kindness out there is very, very inspiring. So yeah, with that, again, feel free to join us next Wednesday, and we hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week.
And stay positive.